Alright, so today I'm going to do an ABG. So first off, I'm going to always check the patient's charts. So I'm going to go check their charts, and it shows that I need to draw an ABG. So when I am ready, I have all my necessary things, my needle, everything that I may need to do the blood draw. So when I go to the room, I always introduce myself, and then I'm going to explain to the patient. So the ABG is something that's going to be drawn out of the artery. It's not going to be up here. I'm going to be taking it out of your wrist. All right. So when we do this, I need you to be very still. And if you feel that you're going to be a little nervous, a little shaky with the needle being placed in you, I can have somebody help me and stabilize your arm. That way they don't jerk from me, because it's very important when you are holding their arm out that they stay very still so you don't puncture anything else. So when I am ready, I am going to go ahead and make sure I have their vital signs. I chart down kind of what the beginning are, just that way I have before the procedure. When you do an ABG, you always want to do the modified Allen's test. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to include the radial and ulnar, and I'm going to have them do a fist 3 times. And when they open their fist the 3rd time, I need to see how long it takes their skin to flush back to normal. So it needs to go back in 3 to 5 seconds, just depending on how good their blood flow is. If their blood flow is not good in the arm, you always want to do the non-dominant arm. And if you can't do that arm, then you just go to the other arm and check. Again, do the modified Allen's test. And when you do the modified Allen's test after the release, you always let go of the ulnar. And when I am ready, I always need to find a pulse. And after I have always cleaned my hands, I always need to have the proper gloving on. So I'm going to make sure always that I have the proper gloving on, and being able to palpate the artery to make sure I can still find it. And after I found it, I can get my stuff ready. So when you get yourself ready, you have to have an alcohol prep wipe. You need a Band-Aid. You need the biohazard bag for everything. And then you need the label. So the label needs to have the patient's name, the patient's temperature, their room number, date, the test that I'm doing, the time that I did the test, and if they are on oxygen. So then you always need to put down their FiO2, whatever they may be on. So when I am ready, after I'm ready, I can get my needle ready, get the cap off, and make sure it's at the appropriate thing. And so I'm going to always have a Band-Aid and everything near me when I do this. So always I need to make sure the alcohol prep wipe first and make sure it's dry before I stick the needle in, because that can cause. So when I stick the needle in, the bevel needs to be facing up, because you don't want it down because it can puncture something else that we don't want to puncture. So when I'm ready, I'm always going to hold it like a pencil at a 45-degree angle. I'm going to palpate the radial, and when I'm ready, I can get it in, and when I'm ready, I can stick it in. Now once that is in the proper place, you'll notice that it'll start going up, filling up with blood. And when I am done, I need to go like this, and I need to place pressure on it. And sometimes, if you notice in the chart, it is, if they're on an anticoagulant, anything like that, I need to make sure I hold longer than 10 minutes. That way it will stop the bleeding. And then when I am done, I need to place a Band-Aid over top of that. Now with the needle, this is a stopper here. So whenever I'm done drawing the blood, I need to stick the needle in here and dispose of the needle into the sharps container. And when I'm ready, I need to put the label on the biohazard bag, and I need to place the needle in here. So I'd always place the label at the top of the biohazard bag. And then if I can't get to the lab right away, I always need to place it on ice. That way there's no clotting, anything that could interfere with the results. And I always need to make sure there's no bubbles in the needle, just so that way it doesn't show that there's too much oxygen in their blood and everything like that. So when I'm done everything, I would dispose of everything that I may have. I would remove the proper PPE, and I would wash my hands, chart anything that I needed to chart, make sure they are okay. Make sure they're always, some people don't do well with blood, so I need to make sure that they aren't gonna faint before I leave the room. And once I'm done, then I can make sure everything is sent to the lab.